The other one, well, the other film that I watched was Eddie Murphy was Beverly Hills Cop 4, which I was like Eddie Murphy has been so up and down the last 20 years that it's really hard to know what to expect, and I thought that it was fucking great. Um, I think that with he's had some hits over the years, like Dolomite, My Name is Dolomite or whatever that was called. That was really good. He's been in obviously like when you've had the career that started out in the way that it's his career started out, you can't really ever fail. Do you know what I mean? Like when you had Delirious and Raw, which yeah, if you went back and watched those comedies as an adult or as a teenager these days, you might dislike them. I remember watching it. I remember watching them in like my mid-20s and thinking, "Ooh, there's some dicey topics there." It's not necessarily how dicey it is. It's not that dicey. It's that he was so young at that time, and not all of it was written by him either. And there's a lot of like cheap homophobia gags in it, and I guess that was just what was like done in the time, you know. Um, but they feel cheap. Do you know what I mean? However, from like 14 probably to my mid 20s, I would have described those two as my favorite stand-up shows just from his energy, the impressions, like I don't know what they would appear like to somebody like 15, 16 watching them now, you know, because they're like mid 80s. So it's like older than 30 years ago, man. Yeah, like, do you know what I mean? Older than me. Uh, I think my mum and dad said that they watched Delirious or Raw on their first date. So, yeah, that's like, guess that's an indicate that so quite a bit older than me. Um, but yeah, like it's not the and after that he had hit and miss, right? I mean, at that time I was a child, so Doctor Dolittle and a bunch of other kids films that he made around that time, I loved because I was a kid when I was watching them. Do you know what I mean? Which also, like, I guess is great advertising. Then Shrek came along for like my brother's generation. So he really managed to, despite making quite a few flops around that time. What was the other one that was huge when I was a kid? The Clumps or something, the Nutty Professor. So like the Nutty Professor and Doctor Dolittle also brought into public attention for me like Dave Chappelle and stuff, and I think it was Dave Chappelle that's in that, right? I think Dave Chappelle was in the Nutty Professor. So like yeah, he hit my generation of kids that had maybe, do you know what I mean? And then he hit my brother's generation with like Shrek and shit like that, playing the donkey character. Um, So he really like covered a whole, but despite a lot of the trash and the weird rumors, the strange rumors about him, like all that shit with the transvestite when he was sleeping with a transvestite, and then she showed up dead, and she fell out of her window. This is the sort of shit that makes me go like, I probably shouldn't be reviewing this film so positively. Do you know what I mean? You think the guy got involved in like because I guess he did tons of homophobic jokes, right? And then all of a sudden he's like getting caught with a transvestite prostitute, and he said that he was just talking to her. And then just after that, I think this is around the time that Shrek 2 was just about to come out. So Shrek 2 is about to get released, and um, there wasn't really much of a story about it, and then he whatever like falls out of her apartment window, and you think, come on now, if that story had really broken, don't know if Shrek. DreamWorks people might not like people might not have sent their kids to watch that film, right? I think that was supposedly the rumor at the time. What that was supposedly the reason that they thought that people thought that they might have killed that person because Shrek 2 had had a load of money pumped into it and they didn't want it to tank. Which you think like, yeah, of course they would murder a prostitute for, do you know what I mean? Like you put it as bluntly as that and you think, wow, that's super, super cruel and you don't quite know like how much Eddie Murphy would have had to do with that. Do you know what I mean? Not sure that and you think that that would definitely hold you down to keeping the secrets of that organization. Um, which is unfair because it doesn't really seem like it would have had much to do with Eddie Murphy. You would have thought that that was a DreamWorks thing. Do you know what I mean? But he's a big draw. Like I think just because of how much I loved him in my teen, it's weird when shit makes an imprint on you like that, right? It must be how people like Jimmy Savile was way too old for me, but it must be how people feel with like Jimmy Savile, like to have a huge imprint in your childhood and then to find out some crazy shit later in life. Savile obviously different to Eddie Murphy in that Savile was hanging out with the King of England and his brother and getting given medals by the Queen and the royal family whilst going into mental health hospitals and raping children. I think it's slightly different. Seeing as Eddie Murphy just seemed to be sticking, it was a common thing for black people in that world, right, to like have to put on a wig or a dress. And you think like for me, I don't think that it's like it was in some way to demean your manhood. And for me, with a lot of that, like my opinion is a wig's just a bit of material. A dress is just a bit of material. Do you know what I mean? Tights and whatever, like they're just bits of material. They don't indicate like you still have a penis and testicles. So I really don't know. For all the Cat Williams supporters out there, like, I don't quite know why you would not just put the dress on for $500 million. Like, it seems like a crazy thing to not, it seems like a crazy thing to not do. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to be a man who is so scared of their own masculinity in order to not do that. Do you know what I mean? You have to have such a fragile masculinity to not put on a dress and some tights and whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like that seems like a crazy because like I can only relate this to my life and like I haven't had a situation where uh it's been called like nobody's asked me to do a film role where I've had to put on a wig and a dress. Do you know what I mean? So like there hasn't been some innocuous thing. Oh wait, no, we did dress like we did have a girls' night in when we were like 18. We had a house party where everyone had to dress like a woman. I just don't really like see what the point. I just don't see what the point is in like not doing it. It seems like like somebody says you could have $500 million right now if you put a dress on. I'd be like, it's just a bit of material women wear has jeans. Like I don't even know why women and men like. It seems like a really crazy thing to differentiate. Anyway, it seems like it's just straight up sort of programming. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, like men wear the, because then when you have priests, they're all wearing like mocks or dresses, whatever you want to call them. That Muslim men wear the same sort of shit, like open. Do you know what I mean? It's not like a play suit that Muslim men wear, is it? It's like it looks like a dress. So like I don't quite know what the and the same with like priests. They all walk around in those like dress things. So you think it's really crazy for you think it's way crazier for a man to not do that. But it does seem strange that they would force you to do it. It does seem strange that like uh it seems strange with Eddie Murphy that they forced him to that potentially they put him in a situation where he was sleeping with transvestites and then murdered the transvestite. That's crazy. Uh, but the guy's made a hell of a lot of money, I think, and he's incredibly funny, incredibly funny. Uh, doesn't I don't know how, yeah, the whole murder thing though, the whole murder thing. It's like it's a lot. It's a lot to process that. Do you know what I mean? You just wonder how much like he had to do with that if it was just carried out in his on behalf of DreamWorks, so that maybe they'd already planned like the next three Shrek films. Do you know what I mean? And a ride at fucking Universal or whatever. So uh, so they felt like they had to do it. Um, but yeah, like all in all, I enjoyed. That was 10 minutes of nothing to do with Beverly Hills Cop. Beverly Hills Cop 4, yeah, rated it. Was a bit when I saw like Joseph Gordon-Levitt in it. I thought, oh, is this gonna be? Because he seems to have fallen off a lot. I mean, I know his career. I mean, his career is probably as long as other people's in terms of that. Like he's been in some. He was in that teen film where he played like a gay prostitute, right? That slept with his fucking. But it was a dark film that slept with his PE coach and fell in love with him. What the fuck was that called? When he was like a teenager. Um, because like I think when you think of Joseph Gordon-Levitt, like, oh, I don't know what you think. I mean, I instantly think of films like the what Snowden. Um, but he's been in Inception as well. That was crazy. The Dark Knight Rises, Looper was good for a sci-fi film. Like, yeah, this guy's been in some crazy decent films, man. But you look like his career started in 1990, years active since 1988. Like that is a child star that like he really did that well. Do you know what I mean? I would say that like because you never looked at Joseph Gordon-Levitt and went, this guy is the star of all stars. Do you know what I mean? You looked at Joseph Gordon-Levitt and you went, wow, strong performance. But it wasn't like a Leonardo DiCaprio. It wasn't like a fucking, who is another guy that crazily made it out of the child star thing. Um, a lot of them implode, right? Because they go crazy. A lot of them go mental from the shit that they have to sort of see and experience and be around doing cocaine at 10 years old and shit. Like, they lose the plot. Um, what else was he in? I don't know what the fuck that film is. Born in LA, no surprise. What? It wouldn't have been one sec. I think that maybe it's called Manic. Um, was an extremely good film. I probably haven't watched this film. Well, I don't want to say it was an extremely good film because I haven't seen this film since I was a teenager. I remember watching it when I was at some like young. If it was released in 2001, I don't think I would have watched it after like 2002, 2003. Um, he's also in 500 Days of Summer, which apparently he was in. Zoe Deschanel was in both of them. I don't think Zoe Deschanel was famous when this film came out, so I didn't know who she was then. But 500 Days of Summer, I don't think I would like that film. Looking back on it, maybe that's attacking a whole side of childhood that I didn't and wouldn't really rate. Um, but yeah, because there's such a wide array of shit to like look at with his career. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's been in so many huge, baby. He's been in so many huge films, franchises, everything. Even series. Like, I was watching it last night and I thought, Third Rock from the Sun. Do you know what I mean? The guy was in like a crazy array of shit, man. So I'm pretty sure Third Rock from the Sun finished about the time that Manic came out. So like, you know what that is to me? That's somebody going, I don't give a fuck what people say, what box I should be pigeonholed in. Do you know what I mean? That's someone going, why would I give a shit? Yeah, I'm gonna be in Third Rock from the Sun. That's a sitcom about like with fucking the dude from Dexter and Planet of the Apes. Like, yeah, I'm gonna be in Third Rock from the Sun. Then I'm gonna go straight up into a film about being raped by my stepfather. That is the sign of a fucking great actor, man. Do you know what I mean? And also, like yeah, I figure he played that role well, and that like I'm not sure if there's probably a lot of people that wouldn't know who he is. You know? So like, yeah, shout out to that guy. He's gone quiet. That like, I remember I searched last night like, why has Joseph Gordon-Levitt not been in that much shit the last few years? There was one Reddit article saying he has. He's been in big films. He's just not been in as many as like other people, blah blah blah. And then there was someone else saying, yeah, he's been quiet since 2016 or something. Um, but yeah, man, like somebody that like I'm not being funny, but like looking at the guy on paper as well, you wouldn't think that guy's gonna really make it. He looks like do you know what I mean? Which another like great thing about I guess in with Hollywood and with you do often think like, oh, they just go for like pretty boys and pretty girls and people that they can manipulate and whatever. Mate, mate, I'm sure he has been at some points manipulated to an extent, but also probably not to have chosen the sort of roles that he did and to have still made it uh, as huge as he has. But when I saw him in it, I thought, oh no, it's just going to be like I don't know why, but I thought, fuck, maybe they're going to maybe this is going to be a real bad film. I just thought maybe they were packing it out with someone famous who was going to play a small role, but actually he ended up being the perfect. I think bringing it had the two old cops from the old Beverly Hills Cops in, and then bulked out with him. I thought that was great, inspired move. Eddie Murphy being in his 60s as well, like the guy looks like he could be in his 40s, man. It's mad. Um, But yeah, I guess like for me, if you haven't ever seen any Beverly Hills Cop film, I'm not sure if you would like it as much as I liked it. That's what I'd say is a downfall because there was a lot of cheese in there. There was stuff like when they were doing stuff like driving in the car and listening to 90s R&B, Mary J. Blige and stuff. I thought, "God, that's played out, man." There were certain things that were happening that I thought, I don't know who that's aiming at. I think that that's probably aiming at, well, 90s chicks, do you know what I mean? Girls of my age, and a bit, and within like 10 years older than that, I thought like, that's a cheap. I figured that, but well, cheap, but you can't really say like cheap shot in a comedy, can you? But um, yeah, I think it's sort of like a cheap pop to the crowd, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? One that you know is going to get a reaction in the cinema and shit, but like it is there to be taken. I guess like why wouldn't you do that? Um, but yeah, I mean, I thought that it was I thought that it was cool. I enjoyed it a lot. But like I said, like if I hadn't have ever seen if you know what, straight up, if I hadn't have ever seen Beverly Hills Cop 1, 2, and 3, I would have not watched 4. I would have probably watched a bit of it and thought, fuck this shit. I think because I enjoyed Beverly Hills Cop 1, 2, and 3 so much is why I enjoyed 4. Strange thing that they put a quick shout out to Beverly Hills Cop 3 being bad. Now, like, I don't think Beverly Hills Cop 3 was bad at all. I think that what Beverly Hills Cop 3 did was depict how corrupt Disney are. I don't think that Beverly Hills Cop 3 was bad. It also seemingly and had George Lucas in it, right? So like Beverly Hills Cop 3 has George Lucas in, which the whole film is taking a shot at Disney. That's what Beverly Hills Cop 3 is. And then has George Lucas in before he sold Star Wars to Disney. I am more than likely sure that what happened is I would say that Disney probably fucked up the intentionally fucked up the making of Star Wars Episode One, Two, and Three, so as to be able to buy it from him. I think they probably just due to that shot. If you look at stuff about like Michael Jackson, you look at stuff about what how Sony apparently orchestrated the big pedo thing with Michael Jackson because he bought the Beatles records from them, right? And you think that Disney would probably have done shit like orchestrate the downfall of those Star Wars films. For sure, just because George Lucas is in a film where he just pretty much directly takes shots at Disney. But I didn't think Beverly Hills Cop 3 was bad. So that's sort of like little dig in there. I thought maybe what's going to happen with that little dig is a load of people are going to go and watch Beverly Hills Cop 3 thinking that it's going to be utter trash and that they might add those things up right there. But yeah, like I thought it was a fun film, a fun little storyline about chasing down corruption in the police. Kevin Bacon, man. Kevin Bacon. Another guy who plays some phenomenally all over the place roles. Different to Joseph Gordon-Levitt though. Like, I mean, Joseph Gordon-Levitt has been in some crap films actually, looking through this. He was in Elektra. Yeah. Oh, that's not the Elektra film about the villain, the anti-hero from Daredevil. He's been in some bad films looking through this. Yeah, but Halloween H20, 20 years later. Shout out to the old fucking, who else was in that? Ethan Hawke or some shit? Was Ethan Hawke in? Yes, Ethan Hawke was in that. Hello, Cool J. Fuck me, man. Oh, Josh Hartnett, not Ethan Hawke. I always fucking confuse those two. Josh Hartnett, man. Um, but yeah, like I would say that the f- the films that he's been in, Kevin Bacon has also been in some suck ass films, man. It also played a wide array of roles. Sleepers, playing that prison guard, like you really want to hate him in that film. You really want him to be dead in that film. Um, then he's in some like cheesy sort of cringy horrors in the 90s 2000s era. But he's always had that skill of being able to, I think he was in The Invisible Man. He's always had that skill of being able to pop out in a film where he plays like a character amazingly and smashing it out the park to sort of bring back that reputation, I guess. But yeah, he was a welcome addition to that film as he added some sort of like serious, I guess like gravitas to it or whatever. Um, yeah, I read that like Beverly Hills Cop did really good numbers. That it's that they want to make a fifth one, which I would definitely like accept into my life well. Um, yeah, I thought it was a perfect blend of like nods to the 80s and 90s films, um, whilst being funny. Like he's never gonna bring back that energy of what he had in the. He seemed to bring back that energy really fucking well for Dolomite. Like in Dolomite, he seemed to really bring back that energy well, and that was cool. Um, but he didn't really like bring it back for this. It did seem a little bit forced, but it also seemed effortless. It seemed like he really didn't have to put too much effort into absolutely smashing out the park and making it an enjoyable ride, I guess. Um, yeah, obviously the storyline was going to be cheesy as fuck. Do you know what I mean? But like, I guess what it was more about was laughs with Eddie Murphy, and that's what it felt like. It felt like laughs with Eddie Murphy and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, if I'm completely honest with you, and I thought the laughs were done well. Um, so yeah, all in all, enjoyed that film a lot yesterday. Um, and yeah, like not really too much to say about it that was bad, apart from that it was sort of cheesy, you know. But like that was obviously going to be expected from a police comedy, um, based on, you know, as a sequel to films from the 80s. But yeah, man, super enjoyed all those films. So yeah, I would say definitely if you have seen the first uh one or two Beverly Hills Cops, that it's definitely worth watching the fourth one.